Hello marketers! Welcome to the Monday Marketing Minutes, where we bring you the most important stories you should be thinking about for the week ahead. Be sure to check out the text below for links, as well as any late breaking updates that we didn't quite make into this shoot. This week, we need to talk about talking, and more accurately, people who listen to people talking. On podcast, interactive voice content, and other online audio options that I can only describe as the rebirth of talk radio. With online video exploding, the one media I never thought we'd be talking about again was podcast. Yet here we are in 2017, and podcasts are bigger than ever. The latest Nielsen research says roughly 50% of U.S. households have podcast fans. That's over 60 million homes. Who wants to listen to other people talk so much? And sponsoring podcasts is becoming a big business. In fact, the IAB's podcast Upfronts are happening this week in New York, with presentations from talent like Ira Glass and Nate Silver, as well as ESPN, Time Inc., and some of the biggest names in media. Sponsoring a podcast is, at this point, very much like advertising on any other media. In fact, it's more like traditional media than it is to sponsor, say, a digital advertising, which is mostly sold through auctions and programmatic. And of course, podcast sponsorships can work out really well. Cereal had the iconic MailChimp sponsorship.
Support for Cereal comes from MailChimp.
From MailChimp.
That was a perfect marriage of breakthrough podcast with a quirky, perhaps unintentionally brilliant ad. Or is that MailKeep? MailKimp? Hard to tell. How effective are podcast sponsorships? Well, ComScore found that people liked ads in podcasts more than any other platform, and that 65% of listeners were likely to buy a product after hearing about it in a podcast. 65% would be one heck of a conversion rate. So back to that Nielsen research, they cross-referenced households that listen to podcasts with the products they buy and found 3 strong affinities. Podcast fans tended to be big buyers of bottled water, baby food, and beer. And certain types of podcast listeners have very strong affinities for those. For example, there are many genres of podcasts like kids and family and TV and film where over 90% of listeners buy bottled water. Those are only 3 sectors tracked in Nielsen's research, but the takeaway is that you can line up your podcasts very closely to the households and audiences you want to reach. And don't miss our podcast marketing garage, because really it's the best. So podcasts are bigger than ever, but where else can we go with audio ads? Well, just this week, Google Home announced a partnership with Vogue magazine that will let Google Home users talk to Vogue.
Okay, Google, ask Vogue about Oprah.
And she sort of slipped into this wistful, sing-songy voice.
That's crazy.
Music was playing and the fan was blowing.
Everything that comes out of Oprah's mouth is perfect.
Owners of the IOT device will be able to access behind-the-scenes audio content of Vogue articles simply by asking Google Home to talk to Vogue. And this will not just be podcast content. There will be interactivity where you can call up different segments you want to hear. In fact, Google is calling it, quote, conversational. Add to these new opportunities the existing online audio advertising options on music sites like Pandora and Spotify, both of which are very common apps within the connected home. And we're beginning to see real-world ways IoT can be a new opportunity for marketers, beyond gimmicks like Burger King trying to launch Google Home from its commercial.
Okay, Google, what is the Whopper Burger?
In a voice-activated world, audio content and voice search are both going to be more important than ever. What should your brand be talking about? Where? And in whose voice? That's all for this week. Remember to check out the links below for any late updates, and if you liked this, or even if you didn't, be sure to let me know in the comments. See you next Monday.